We're looking at the IT or Information Technology Prac exam from 2021. This is the November or May paper. I think it's the rewrite or supplementary paper. And we are going to do the database question in this video. So the database question is made up of two parts, the SQL part and the database part. And we are dealing with two tables, TBL shops and managers, and they tell me the details of them over there. And what I've done is I've actually put a little image there of there so we can see what the field names are and it's TBL shops, and so we can refer to that instead of having to scroll to the top every single time. And we are using the ADO tables, TBL shops and TBL managers for our code. The first few questions will be SQL questions, so let's start off with that. So we're going to start with 2.1 and let's go straight to 2.1.1. We want to display all the fields, so that's nice. Select all the fields for the TBL shops, sorted from the largest to smallest shop according to the size. And that is it. So we're going to go to the program. There we go. We want to double click on that particular button and we're going to write our code in there. That's all we have to do. So we're going to use a select and we want to select all the fields. So I'm going to put select star from, and what's the table called? We want to select all from the TBL shops table, the TBL shops. And there is no criteria, but they do say they want it sorted by the from largest to smallest. So that's descending order. So we want to order by the shop size. Make sure that the field is exactly like it is in the actual database. Shop size, no spaces. If there was spaces, I would use square brackets around it just to make sure that it doesn't see it as two separate fields. And we want it in descending order. So we put the code DESC. Please note that must be in capital letters for it to work. So let's run it and see what that does. Click on the button and there we go. And it's sorted by shop size. There we go. All done. So close that and let's move on to the next query. 2.1.2. The user must select a manager from the combo box. The code has been provided to assign the manager to a variable called S. So we've got that. Display the shop name of all the shops managed by the manager associated with the selected manager number. If we come over here, we're going to get the manager number from there. Manager 1, 2, or 3. So 1, 2, or 3, we've got it from that combo box. That's great. So if we get manager 1, 2, and 3, they want me to display. What do they want me to display? They want to display the shop name of all the shops. So just the shop name. So we want just the shop name of all the managers that have that manager ID. So we're looking at that manager ID. If it's a 1, then we display all those shop names. We're going to come here to there. We're going to, in the code, we're going to select, we just want the shop name, if I'm correct, that's the field name. So we just want the shop name. So select a shop name. From which table are we dealing with here? We are dealing with this table, which is TBL shops. TBL shops. Where the manager ID. If you looked here, where is it? Where the manager number. So we're looking at manager number. So we look where the manager number is equal to that particular value. Okay, so we're dealing with a number field, so we don't have to put quotes or anything. So I'm going to go out of the text here and I'm going to go to S manager number. So go get the value in this variable, which will be a number. So get the value in this variable, which will be a number, and we're going to add that onto the string that's got the SQL code. So it'll take that string, add it onto this, whatever the value. If it's a 1, it'll add a 1. We don't need to put double quotes or anything around it because we're dealing with number. If this was text, then we would put like a double quote there and then a double quote at the end, but I think that'll be fine. Let's run it. So let's see what that looks like. So if we select manager 1, it should say all the shops. Those are all the shops for manager 1. And if I look here, that looks correct. And if I select manager 2, it will give me a whole different set of options. Those are all the ones by number 2. Okay, so there we go. That one is done. Let's move on to question 2.1.3. The rental cost of space in the mall is 65 Rand per square meter. Use the shop size field, which is the square meters, to calculate the rental. So we're going to multiply those two numbers together. Use the new field named rental to keep the rental amounts. So we're going to display the shop name, shop size, and the rental. Display the shop name, the size, and the calculated rental field for all the shops with rental amounts that exceed the value of 50,000. Okay, so let's wait for that at the end. The rental amount must be formatted as a currency. So let's just get this view correct. So we want shop name, shop size, and that calculated rental field. Shop name, shop size. So we're getting that from TBL shops. So let's go to our code for this one. So we're going to say select shop name, comma, shop size from TBL shops. Okay, so that's what we want. We want also over here a calculated field, and that calculated field is shop size multiplied by 65. So I'm going to come over here and say 65 multiplied by the shop size, and we want it as the word rental. So that's the text that must be displayed at the top, rental. So let's see what that does. So there we go. So, okay, so we're getting the values. Okay, that's great. So that's that times 65, but we want that formatted as a currency. So all we do there is that formula. We're going to put a format around that formula. And we're going to say that must be formatted as, and we put in text currency. So format that formula as a currency and call it rental. So that's what we've got there as rental. So let's run that. See what are we making progress? Are we getting there step by step? Okay, that looks a lot better. That's great. Now they only, however, want those where the rental exceeds the value of 50,000. So we only want those that exceed 50,000. So that's a where clause. So we're going to come over here to the end. I'm going to add a where clause. If I type rental, I don't think it's going to work. It won't say if rental is greater. Does it include 50,000? I think it says it exceeds the value. So it must be more than 50,000. So if we say rental, I think that's going to give us a problem. You see, it doesn't know what rental is. So what we could do is we could actually put the formula in over here. So let's put in the formula where the 65 times the shop size must be greater than the rental. So if I do that at the end, so where instead of rental, where the actual formula is the shop size, there we go. And there we go. So it's only those above, and I think that it looks exactly like how they want it. There we go, fetch and go, E&E, fetch and go, there we go, I think we got it correct, and those numbers look spot on. So that's one way of doing it correctly. Okay, 2.1.4, the total turnover is calculated by adding the values in the turnover field. So all the turnovers must be added, and it must be calculated per manager. So for each manager, we need to group it. We need to display the manager name and the surname and a calculated field called total turnover. But this isn't like a normal thing. This is a grouping where we sum in the total turnover for each manager. Okay, so let's have a look at the table. So we want to total the turnover for each manager, but you notice that we don't have the manager's name or surname here. We've only got their number. We've got the name and surname there, but not here. So that means we need to use both tables. We need to look at that and combine it with that. Okay, so we're using two tables. So straight away, we can do it step by step. Let's break it down into little parts. So let's go down to the question 2.1.4. So we first of all going to select, we want to get the manager surname or name. Which one do they want to display first? Which one did they say first? Name and then surname. So we want name, manager name, comma, manager surname. And then we're going to get that total turnover, which I'll come to now. But let's just put total turnover for now. Turnover. So we're just going to do turnover for now. Turnover, and we're getting that from both tables, one from the other one. So because they are different names, we don't have to specify which table they come from, because it'll know those are only available from the one table and that's only from the other. But we are getting it from both tables. We're getting from TBL managers and TBL shops, so we must mention both tables. From TBL managers, comma, TBL shops. So we're getting it from both tables. Where now the moment you've got a query with two tables, you must specify what links them. And what links them? The manager number in the managers is linked to the manager number in the shops. You must specify the link. So TBL managers, actually you spell it correctly, managers.manager number is going to be the same as TBL shops.manager number. So make sure you got the link between the two. Okay, so we've got that part done. However, they don't want the turnover. They want the total. We want to add, we want to sum the turnover. That's an aggregate field. So we actually want to sum the turnover, and we want to display it as, what field do they want me to display it as? They said total turnover, one word. So we can say as total turnover. Okay, so they want us to sum it. Now, the moment you sum a field and you have other fields there that are not being aggregate functions, then you need to group by these two fields. Now, because there's two of them, we must group by both of them. So we must go right to the end, and after the where clause, we're going to add a group by, and in brackets, we're going to say group by manager name, group by surname. So remember, the moment you've got an aggregate field like sum or AVG or min, if there are other fields with it in the select, you must group by those other fields. Let's just run it and see that we've spelt everything correctly. Okay, so let's go turn manager. Okay, so everyone's been displayed. I think that's looking very good. So look, the data is pretty spot on. The only difference, hey, that looks good. Only difference is our data is not formatted by currency. And I think, did they say anything about that? Did they say anything about currency? They don't mention it. Calculate field for each manager at the bottom here. No, so, but let's make it currency, because make it exactly like it is. So we want to display it according to currency. So we're going to format the sum. So format the sum field, comma, as currency. So use the diagram to guide you on what it must look like. Okay, so I'm just doing that just to make sure. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, so there we go. So the key there is we're using two tables. So make sure that you mention from which both tables. So make sure you say from one table and the other. And the moment you've got two tables, you must specify what the link is. Now, you can't say manager number equals manager number. You've got to say this table's manager number equals that table's manager number. The moment you've got fields that have got the same name in both tables, you must say the table dot the field name. Challenging, but we could do it easily. And then the last one, 2.1.5, update. Jeans for You has moved to another shopping mall. So the new clothing with the name Teen Dream opened in its place. So we must change all the Jeans for You to Teen Dream. So this is an update query. So we update and we specify which table. We're updating TBL shops. And what are we changing? We are setting, I think we said the shop name. I think it's shop name. We're setting the shop name to, we want to change the shop's name to Teen Dream, if I remember correctly. Teen Dream. Now you notice I put a quote there. Now, why is there a quote? So that's what we must change it to, and we're only changing the Jeans for You one. So I'm not going to use a single quote. I'm going to use double quote, Teen Dream, double quote. Now if I just do that, it's going to set everyone to Teen Dream. I don't want that. I want to set only where the shop name currently is, not use double quotes here. Jean for You, I think it was. Jeans for You, Jeans space, update the Jeans for You name to Teen Dream. So update the table, set what you want to set, and then the where clause is which ones must be changed. So let's try that. So if I look over here, if I look at the shop name, if I scroll down, there's Jeans for You. It's 301 and we don't find any other Jeans for You. Okay, that's great. So let's update the shop name. Our database updated. Oh, they've given us a diagram. So 301, Teen Dream. There we go. So it's done correctly. Okay, well done. That's the SQL part done. And the second part of the database question, we're going to just deal with normal database handling. And 2.2, so we've got the database there. And they say a shop is classified as a small shop if the size of the shop is less than 300 square meters. So 300, less than shop size of 300. Write code to count and display the number of shops in the rich edit control that are less than 300. So we want to count. Just count them. It says count and display the number of shops. So we're just doing a simple count. So we're going to go through that database. So let's go back here. We can go to the design view and we want to go to the second tab and we want that one there. So in that we're going to display. So we're just dealing with TBL shops. So I'm going to say TBL shops dot first. Whenever we're going through a database, it's TBL shops dot first, while not TBL shops dot end of file. And then we're going to do a begin and end. And then at the bottom somewhere we're going to say TBL shops dot next. That's what we're doing every single time. Now we are doing a count. So when we do a count, we simply need to make a variable called rCount or rDracula, because it's a count variable, count Dracula, integer. And the steps with the count variable is at the top somewhere you must initialize the count variable. And at some point during this code, we're going to increase our count, and then at some point we're going to display our count. So at the end of the loop we'll be doing some sort of display. They say small shops colon and that variable. So in that rich edit, which was rich edit 221, so rich edit 221.lines.add, we're just going to say small shops in quotes colon, put quotes around that, so it's text, and then we're just going to add this rCount variable there, but that's not an integer, so we convert it from an integer to a string. Now, it is an integer, we must convert it to a string though, for it to fit into the rich edit. Home. Okay, so but when do we want to count? We only want to count when the shop size is less than 300. So if TBL shops in square bracket, now here's where we put the field name, shop size. If the shop size is less than 300, does it include 300? Always ask us other question. Is the shop size is less than 300? Does it include 300? Is less than 300? So let's run through it. We're expecting the result of 10. So let's go to the second tab. So if I go through, it's going to go through all the shop size. There are 10 shops that are less than 300. Okay, so there we go. That one is correct. Let's move on to the next question. 2.2.2. Information on the manager of the shop must be displayed on request. Code has been written to enter in the name of the shop using an input box. That's all. I think that's been done for us. So when you get the shop name, search the table to find the shop name that is entered. If the name of the shop is found, display the name, the surname, and contact number of the manager of the shop in the rich edit. If the name of the shop is not found, use a message to display shop is not in the mall. Okay, so we just want to say name and just like that. Okay, so let's look at the table. So we are going to get the shop's name, and we need to display the manager's name, surname, and contact people. But you know, the shop name isn't here, it's there. So we're actually dealing with both tables. So what we need to do here is we are going to get the shop's name, and we're going to search through this database for the shop name. When we find the shop name that matches this name we're looking for, we're going to move across to the manager number, and then we're going to use that to search the manager's table to find a match there and move across and get those details. So we're actually searching through both tables, but first through the shops, and then when we find a match for the name, we take the number and try to match it with the number, searching through the manager's table. So let's do that. So we're first going to search through the TBL shops.first, and then while not TBL shops.end of file. It's all very similar, right? Begin, end, and at the bottom here we're going to go TBL shops.next. Okay, TBL shops, still not RBL shops. There we go. Okay, so TBL shops.next. Okay, so there's my looping through the shops. We are going to get the name of the shop. So we're going to go through each and every shop. We're going to go through. Is that the name we're looking for? Let's say we want I&J store. Is that I&J? Is that I&J? Is that I&J? No, is that? Oh, there we go. There. So if TBL shops, square bracket, shop name, is that the field name? To double check the spelling, shop name. If the shop name is the same as the name that we got as a variable, then what do we want to do? Only then do we want to go through the other table or every single time, the manager's table, only if we find a match with the name. Now I want to go through and find the manager's name. So I'm actually going to record the manager's ID, manager ID. So this is our type integer. So look what I'm going to do here. I'm going to record this manager ID. I want to record the manager ID of this shop that we just found is equal to TBL shops. It's exactly the same as this, except for we found the shop name. We want to get the manager number. We want to get the manager number. There we go. Now we record the manager number. Now that I've got the manager number, now I can go through. So I'm right here. Go through the manager table from this point on. So between there and there, we want to go through the manager table. TBL manager dot first, while not TBL managers end of file, while we are not at the end of the file, begin, and then at the end here. So I'm saying this is the end of the managers while loop, and we're going to say TBL managers dot next here. So this is looping through the managers table. I've got my ID, I've got one. Now let's go through. I'm checking if the manager ID from the managers table matches the one that I got from there. So I'm doing if TBL managers, if the manager number, is that spelled exactly like it is in the database? Manager number. The manager number is the same as iManage ID, which is the ID we got from. You could have actually just put the TBL shops manager ID there. That would have been fine as well. That would have been fine. But if it is a match, then we are at the correct manager. Then here is where we have found the manager. Then we can display in the rich edit, not in that one, in number 2.lines.add. We've already got the headings done there. They've already done the headings. So we want to get the name. So I'm going to put in TBL manager. I'm just copying this just to save time. The manager's name, manager name. So we're going to put in manager name plus a #9. I'm just doing this on a new line so you can see it. Plus the manager surname plus a #9 plus the manager's. Oh, let's put pluses at the end of these #9s there. Don't forget the plus there and the plus over there. And then the last field is the contact number, which is, I'm assuming text, contact number. Okay, so I feel that those fields are text. The reason why I say the last one's text is because it's got a leading 0. So that will be text, that'll be text, that'll be text. It's keeping the leading 0, so it must be text as well. So therefore, all 3 of those are strings, so I don't need to do any conversions. So if we find the manager ID, then display them all. So let's see what that does. Okay, so we're going to display the name. And there we go. They've put in a value in for me. That's great. So let's try that out. So Little Kind Grocery Store. So let's go, yeah. So the Little Kind Kitchen Grocery Store is number 1. So we should see those details for that particular one. So Little Kitchen Grocery Store, okay. Yes, it found the right person. Now let's say we want to find Delhi. So I'm going to go Display Manager. I'm going to say Delhi. And we know Delhi is number 4. So let's go, okay. Number 4, it found the right person. So it is working. Now, the only little thing we haven't done is it says that if the shop's name is not found, we must display a message that says, hey, the shop is not in this mall. The shop is not in this mall. So we need to display that text. So I'm going to copy that. How do I determine if it's not been found? Well, I'm going to have a little flag. Let's go here, have a little be found of type thin ghost or boolean. And we are going to set the boolean for that be found to false. Set it to false. By default, it's false. The moment we find the shop name, we found. If we find it, if we find the shop name, we found the shop, we do all this. But the moment we find the shop, I'm also going to set be found to true. So we have found it, so we can set it to true. Great. Now that we've set it to true, we know that it was found. But however, if we get through the entire looping process, we get through all the shops, and if we get over here at the end of the shops, after the shops have all been done here, if be found is still false at this point, then we know that it never changed to true. Then we must show a message, that text that they want me to display. Okay, so if we get to this point and it still hasn't been found, then we must display the show message. We could actually make this even more efficient. So when we're doing the loop, while we are not at the end of the loop, and while be found equals false, then do the loop. If I do this, what we are doing is, if we find it, we can actually stop looking for it as well. So the moment be found becomes true, then this loop will stop, because why must we carry on looking if we found what we're looking for? So what I do here, this is a good, more efficient way to make sure that we go till the end of the values in the shops table. But if we find it, we can stop. If be found becomes true, stop this loop. While be found is false, we haven't found it. And while we're not at the end, keep looking. The moment we find it, or the moment we reach the end, we can stop looking. And that will make that more efficient. So let's run it. And so what you'll notice with this one is if I type in Delhi and I click OK, it does display the results, but you see how it stayed there. It hasn't gone all the way to the end. There's still lots more records available, but it stopped just after the Delhi. But if I display this shop, now I know that shop doesn't exist. It went through all of them and the shop is not in this mall. So there we go. And that is the database question. We have a new channel just for theory. That is tinyurl.com/Mr. Long Computer Terms. Go to it, click on that subscribe button. Also, you can find us on TikTok at Mr. Long Education. And remember, don't do it the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.